A cell house at Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary is shelled with mortar fire during the Battle of Alcatraz. Several prisoners overpowered guards and made a failed attempt to shoot their way out of the prison on May 3, 1946. A girl is cooling off in a pond in Hyde Park in the UK, London during July of 1969. The Hollywood Bowl on opening day, 1922. Alright, so, during the mid-30s, a television set looked like a big piece of furniture. It had a cabinet made of wood, and inside that cabinet, there was a screen. The screen was quite small, usually about 10 to 12 inches, and the picture was black and white. There were knobs on the front to control the volume in the channels. Princess Alexandrine Irene of Prussia, the oldest daughter of Wilhelm, the German crown prince, and Cecile of Mecklenburg-Schwerin. She was born with Down syndrome, but was adored, educated, and never hidden by her family, as was the custom of her time. Hachiko at Shibuya Station, Tokyo, 1933. An Akita Inu named Hachiko became a legend for being loyal. He would go with his owner to the station and then wait for him after work. Even after his owner died in 1925, the dog came to the station for 9 years. This is Leo Tolstoy with his family, sitting around a tea table in the park. This World War II exhibit is called The Land Calls You. It's about the German colonization of Poland. There's a painting that shows a settler's wagon driving past a knocked-down Polish border sign. This painting is shown to German schoolchildren. Oldsmobile was testing its single-cylinder curved dash on a hill in Lansing, Michigan in the early 1900s. August 1936. There's a family traveling between Dallas and Austin, Texas. They've left their home and everything they knew in South Texas, hoping to get to the Arkansas Delta to find work in the cotton fields. Betty Grable, she's in Los Angeles, California, in the United States in 1943. Kelly Preston, John Travolta, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman, and Quentin Tarantino were at the premiere of Pulp Fiction at the Cannes Film Festival in 1994. During the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, the use of masks became widespread. This high school girl has the jean jacket and hairstyle that were popular in the 70s. Tel Aviv, November 4, 1995. An Arab mourns the assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. The steamer Frank J. Hecker launched on September 2, 1905 in St. Clair, Michigan. The Statue of the Republic for the Chicago World Fair of 1893. Walking to the shops with her children and a pet sheep in tow. Listening to the Sound of Stone, Paris, 1935. How to Swim, Newport, Rhode Island, around 1913. It's a swimming class at a naval training station. Mount Rushmore before the presidential heads were carved into it. It looks like a large mountain. Ornithopter. A lot of people probably dream about flying like a bird, but in 1963, engineer Alan Stewart took it a step further. He created an ornithopter, which is a human flight machine. It was designed to flap its wings just like a bird. It's 45 degrees. This is the USSR in 1970. A sad little girl holds hands with her scratched-out sister. Howie, who was 17, is with his Vespa. This was in Leicestershire, England in 1983. During Victorian times, a lot of mothers didn't breastfeed, choosing to bottle feed their babies. These bottles, which were state-of-the-art then, had a rubber nipple and thin rubber tubing. If my gym had one of these, I would be in a whole lot better shape. "1917, Miles City, Montana. The air's buzzing with the thrill of the roundup. Miklos Horthy, the leader of Hungary, was in Košice during a military parade, celebrating the annexation of the region from Czechoslovakia in November of 1938. Abraham Lincoln, accompanied by General George McClellan, went to Antietam in 1862 for a visit. They were looking at the battlefield. A member of the Hitler Youth is renaming Tomáš Masaryk Street, the founder of Czechoslovakia, to Adolf Hitler Street. This happened after the German annexation of the Sudetenland in October of 1938. All right, let's take a look at some women's hairstyles from a 1950s salon poster. First up is a style called the page boy. The hair is smooth with the ends flipped under. Next is the bouffant. This style has volume at the crown, with the hair smoothed back. Then we have the chignon. This is a classic updo, with the hair twisted and pinned at the nape of the neck. Following that is the pixie. This is a short cropped style, often with bangs. After that is the French twist. The hair is twisted up the back of the head and secured. Finally, there's the ponytail. This is a simple style where the hair is pulled back and tied at the back of the head. The first modern World Series in Major League Baseball happened in Massachusetts in 1903. This is a Motorola remote control from 1956. Cleaning women, 1855. Making the world's largest omelet in 1931, with bacon strapped to her feet, of course. Elizabeth Taylor visited Elton John backstage at the Spectrum in Philadelphia in 1976. Stephen King, a former campus writer, has hit the big time. This picture is from 1975. The 5th Engineer Special Brigade helped bring men ashore on Omaha Beach. The landing craft the men were in was attacked by enemy fire, and they made their way to the beach in the rubber raft. This was taken by Walter Rosenblum on June 6, 1944. Comedian and singer Martha Raye performs for an audience of United States soldiers during a United States Organizations, or USO, tour for troops stationed in North Africa, 1943. January 20th, 1934. Workmen are removing one of the giant propellers from the White Star liner, Majestic, at Southampton. The radio helmet was introduced in early 1949, and it cost $7.95. They called it the Man from Mars radio helmet. "18-year-old Philip met then 13-year-old Princess Elizabeth at the Royal Navy College in Dartmouth in 1939. Two police officers are arresting a robbery suspect. The suspect tried to escape using a fire escape on December 19, 1964. A group of children are outside the Oval Cricket Ground, peering through the gates and writing down the scores. This was in the 1930s. There were people at Daytona Beach in Florida, United States in 1904. So, this is about Finnish cavalry training from the 1930s. A Russian soldier is showing how his weapon works. This meeting happened on the Elbe River between American and Soviet troops in 1945. Playing a duet on a giant blue bird harmonica, London, 1938. The Stanford Prison Experiment. In a mock prison setting, 24 male students, selected from a larger pool of 75, were randomly assigned to be either guards or prisoners. Participants were told they would receive $15 a day for their involvement. The prison was set up in the basement of Stanford University's psychology building. The experiment was scheduled to last for 2 weeks. Joseph Stalin is casting his vote in the 1937 Supreme Soviet election. The CPSU coalition won 99% of the vote. This canvas is a curious thing. It is a painting of the Grand Canyon. It was painted in 1903. It is 5 feet by 6 feet. It was painted by a man named Louis Mayer. The canvas is unusual because of its shape. The United States Council of Tea experts got together for the first time since 1942. They were there to establish minimum standards for the 8 to 10 different kinds of tea that would be sent into the country the next year. That happened on February 17, 1947. 1928, gigantic flame and no smoke. A furious pillar of fire from an oil well causes tremendous losses at Santa Fe Springs, California. Italy, in the garden of Pier Francesco Orsini, 1952. Gas balloons, Paris, 1914. Okay, here we go. This is a 1950s General Chief electric stove sink fridge combo. In an underground surgery room, behind the front lines on Bougainville, an American Army doctor is operating on a United States soldier wounded by a Japanese sniper, 1943. 17th Airborne paratroopers, with their hair cut in Mohawk style, are being briefed for the next day's jump across the Rhine in Arras, France. This was taken on the 23rd of March, 1945. A cat's wearing a suit and a hat. It's 1906. Cashiers had chairs, something they were allowed to have thanks to right-to-sit laws. This was in a supermarket in the Netherlands back in June of 1985. So, I'm trying to hear the whispers up in London's St. Paul's Cathedral in 1950. Alright, so the American pop band, the Monkees, during a silly photo shoot around 1967. Members of Alpha Kappa Alpha, a historically black sorority, Delta Chapter, 1930. The University of Kansas. The USS Los Angeles airship lands on the USS Saratoga in January of 1928. June 12, 1935, Newark Passenger Station, Pennsylvania Railroad. Little Albert Einstein, at 3 years old, had dark, curly hair. He was wearing a dark, long-sleeved shirt and dark shorts. He had a somewhat serious expression. The skiing chef. November 26, 1932. The chef of a Braemar hotel enjoys a lunchtime ski. Che Guevara, around 1934. In 1931, Mary Smith earned 6 pence a week in East London by shooting a pea into the windows of the sleeping workers. Knocker-uppers also used long bamboo sticks and canes to rouse residents of the upper floors. There's a woman hailing a cab in New York City in 1956. The Battle of Cable Street, London, 1936. Sarah, who is 7 months old, is shown dehydrated and malnourished. Her grandmother is comforting her in Baghdad in 1998. Sanctions backed by the U.S. after the Gulf War are estimated to have killed 500,000 Iraqi children. Czechoslovak students are participating in an air raid drill during rising tensions with Germany in May 1938. There's a dapper group, and they're on their way to church in Chicago during the 1940s. Tommy Woodcock, a racehorse trainer, is with his champion horse. This is the night before the Melbourne Cup in Australia, 1977. Here's a perfume spraying machine from 1952. September 19, 1888, the first ever beauty contest was held in Belgium. Pablo Picasso as Popeye, 1957. In 1969, they diverted the water from Niagara Falls. They did this to study the rock formation and to do some geological surveys. The American side was completely dry. It was a remarkable sight. Parents are taking their baby ice skating in the 1930s. The Soviet engineering masterpiece is a snowmobile, the GMV-2. It was assembled from parts of an airplane, the Il-28, and also a UAZ and a Gaz. This was in Orenburg during the 1980s. German soldiers and Estonian civilians are celebrating the German capture of Tallinn from Soviet control in August of 1941. A group of kids had arranged to care for and feed the dog after the owner had died, back in 1936, England. Here's 6-year-old Robin Williams with his mother Laurie in 1957. Experiments with a balloon in Brunoy, France in 1891. Ernest and Roger Viollet tried to conquer the skies when airplanes were still science fiction. There's a portrait of 2 women from Zanzibar around 1900. Saint Teresa as a 14-year-old Albanian gypsy on the left in 1924. Dame Diana Rigg and Dame Helen Mirren are in the grounds at Compton Verney between takes of A Midsummer Night's Dream. This was in 1968. A dancer named Aicha entertained patrons at La Parisiana in Brussels in 1945. She had 2 pythons wrapped around her. Two young boys, standing barefoot on moving electric looms trying to reach the top shelf while they're working in a cotton mill in Georgia in 1910. There are female snipers of the Second Belarusian Front, World War II. The mummified remains of the Tallinn man who lived 2,300 years ago. The first night wildlife photograph was taken in 1893. London in the 1920s. There's a policeman in a London street, and he's giving directions to 3 children on a bicycle. The bicycle is specially made for 3 people. The school lunch in Finland, 1950, was a pretty big deal. It was actually free for every child. The meal included a hot dish, a salad, and bread. Milk was available too. Mick Jagger is riding in a car after his wedding to Bianca Perez Morena de Macias in Saint-Tropez, France, on May 12, 1971. An Irish Free State 18-pounder gun is bombarding the forecourts before the capture in 1922. Anton Chekhov is walking with dogs in Yalta in 1903. The last visual record of a Barbary lion in the wild was in 1925. The text describes a playground. There was a playground. It was from the 1970s. It had a lot of potentially dangerous equipment. Some of the playground equipment included things like seesaws, which would have had no padding. There were also metal slides. The slides were very tall and could get hot in the sun. Another thing was merry-go-rounds. These were large and spun very fast. These were all common pieces of playground equipment during that time. Elvis is signing an autograph. He's wearing a light-colored suit, a dark shirt, and a tie. He's smiling. There's a woman to his left. She's wearing a polka-dot dress and is also smiling. Another woman is standing behind her. To his right are a couple of men. One has his hand extended toward Elvis. The other man is wearing glasses and looking on. After World War II ended, Japanese soldier Hiroo Onoda kept fighting in the Philippines for 29 years because he didn't believe Japan would surrender. This is him formally giving up his sword to the president. It was 1912. Crew members were rescued from the RMS Titanic. During the Sudetenland crisis in Czechoslovakia, there was a Slovak rally in Bratislava. They were displaying a copy of the Pittsburgh Agreement. They were pointing to the signature of Tomáš Masaryk, who wrote the document. This was in June of 1938.